Balaki. Where is Balaki at?
My name's Blake.
Do you want to go to war, Balaki? I'm for real. Aaron.
Aaron is back with my new frequent flyer guest, Mitch Brisker. How's it going, Mitch? I should get our
pretty
names
good.
up there.
Yeah. Hey, I'm ready to go another 10 rounds.
You ready?
I've pretty much healed up from yesterday.
All right, don't just give up on me this time like you did.
No.
Don't just throw in the towel now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to let you get away with saying that, but that is not what happened. I did do a rope-a-dope in the middle. I mean, I kind of feigned that I was being worn out, but that's the rope-a-dope.
That's true. That's true. That's true. Okay, so look, we had a very fun conversation yesterday that focused on our previous conversations about whether Miscavige could be removed from power, sort of focused on whether Shelly Miscavige could successfully replace David Miscavige. And I want this conversation to be a little more broad ranging because I think after our conversation, was it yesterday? Was that yesterday we did that?
Yeah.
You got a phone call from someone who filled in a bunch of stuff for you. I got a phone call from someone who filled in a bunch of stuff for me. And I'm more confident than ever that between now and the ultimate downfall of Scientology, however you want to define that, it is simply not possible for David Miscavige to be removed from power by anyone. I'd like to talk a little bit about some of the things I learned yesterday about why that's truer, in my opinion, than ever. And maybe you want to talk a little bit about you and I haven't even pre-gamed this video. Like, I don't know what you learned yesterday. You don't necessarily know what I learned yesterday. So
that's what makes this great. Is we're just jumping in.
Exactly. Real world.
Yeah.
So what did you learn yesterday?
Well,
or whatever.
Yeah. Shortly after our stream, Jackson Moorhead gave me a call because remember I was like fumbling with a couple, like I couldn't. You were asking me like who was delivering the comm back then, and I couldn't remember.
Oh yeah.
So he called me up to kind of fill me in on some of those names, but also remember I was like I don't remember seeing Lou around much, and the thing he brought up to me, which I would not have known, but at that time, that was when Tom Cruise was spending a lot of time at the base. He and I were we were neighbors at what they call the G's. Lou was assigned to Tom during all of those first few years when I was there. Her rise to power came about. She became a power player because she was assigned to handle everything for Tom when he was at the base.
What years would this have been, Mitch?
This would be 90 to 93. Those are the years when Tom was doing when he was auditing Mark Hesley, and
so in 93 was Days of Thunder, right?
I believe so. You'd have to Google that. Yeah,
okay.
And he was with Nicole. She would be. I met her there a couple of times, just accidentally, coming and going from where we were living. So I believe.
Well, if that's the case, then 1990 was Days of Thunder. Okay, wow, even earlier than I thought. Yeah, so if he was already with Nicole, then of course he met Nicole on Days of Thunder.
Yeah.
So that's where Lou and guys, Lou is Larice Stukenbrock or whatever. What do you know what her name is now?
Yeah, I forget, but she's reverted back to her maiden name.
Okay. And she's the one who works closely with David Miscavige. I think now she's David Miscavige's communicator. It is largely believed that she could be in a romantic relationship with David Miscavige, whether he is or is not married to Shelly Miscavige. Who the hell knows at this point, right? I mean, honestly, who really knows?
Right.
So then what was the explanation, though, why you didn't remember Larice being around?
Because she was always off handling Tom. She was not with Dave. She was assigned to Tom. So she was literally with him. So because I only remember her vaguely in the background.
Wow.
Yeah, and the person that I do remember, her name escapes me right now. I only knew her briefly as a messenger. She later had a PR post in RTC. I'm horrible with names. I mean, you're Asmithlevin, right? I mean, I'm really bad with names. So, yeah.
You can call me Aaron. My friends call me Nora.
Perfect.
Yeah. Nora is Aaron backwards.
Nora.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yes.
And Mitch is bitch with an M. So.
Okay. So I'm assuming, does that mean Larice was assigned to Tom just when he was on the base, or was she actually like on his personal staff?
No, she wasn't. As far as I know, she was not one of those people. Like, I think you're referring to when Amy Scobie was handling that project through Celebrity Center to man up his household. she would not have been directly part of that. This was because none of that was happening yet. This was the early days of grooming Tom Cruise when they were bringing him to the base. He was doing his training up there. They had a course room set up for him. He was, he had Mark Headley as a guinea pig pre-clear, and he was, living there and sometimes with Nicole. So any of his, she was assigning him 24/7 to make sure that he was catered to, that he had whatever he needed. So she wouldn't have been hanging out with Dave, which is why I could not. That Jackson was explaining to me the reason why you never saw her around was because she was with Tom Cruise all the time.
Yeah. So I have to admit that although you've said to me about 100 times, as have others, but you mostly, that international management does not exist anymore. I've heard those words. I had never completely onboarded or internalized what exactly that meant. To me, what that meant was the execs have been removed from post, and therefore the functions that are supposed to be being performed at international management are sort of de facto falling down the org board and being held for the time being, but probably not forever, by others. And it was sort of a bit and piece operation. And that's just how I always interpreted those words.
Right.
International management doesn't exist. And I was
Right.
like, okay. So yesterday I had a conversation with someone who connected the dots for me in a way. It's one of these things where once I got it, I was like, oh, I'm not sure why I didn't fully understand that that's what Mitch was saying. But here's what was explained to me. So you've said that Scientology Media Productions in Hollywood is David Miscavige's new base. Like that is the new int, sort of.
Right.
Is that an oversimplification? Is that how you would say it right now in your own words? That is the new int is SMP?
Well, I never would have thought of putting into those words, but when I hear you say it, I'm like, yeah, that sounds right.
Okay. So he explained it this way. International management, everything any Scientologist would have known as the Watchdog Committee or the International Management Executive Committee or CMO International
Mm-hmm.
does not exist. And the Sea Org members know it doesn't exist. It's not
Right.
like,
Can
it's
I
not like
just
someone's, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to add one thing, and it's not like they're waiting in the wings. It's not like there's any possibility that they can return. They're too old. They're dying off. They've been given menial jobs, and that's that.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess I was sort of under the impression that there was someone up there sending out phantom emails and telexes so that someone was up there, but no one knew that the people weren't there. That's kind of how I had chosen to interpret your words, right? And he goes, no. International management is a non-entity and nobody believes otherwise. Everybody knows there's no one up there and no one's sending messages up there. Middle management, what in Scientology today they would call the ILO, before that it was the FLO, before that it was the FCB, but middle management is run by the COCMO IXU. I'm sorry, we don't have to define that right now. The COCMO IXU, Carrie Eibert, and the RTC rep for the ILO is Tracy Danelovich, and that Carrie Eibert and Tracy Danelovich are running Scientology. And it's almost like the ILO, middle management, is the new int management, but there's branches. So you have the ILO, and I'm sorry for all you casual watchers. We're not going to define all these things. I just want to kind of get this stuff on the record with me and Mitch, and for those who know what the hell we're talking about. It was said, so you have SMP, Scientology Media Productions. That's run by Chandra. SMP runs by Chandra. And what did you say Chandra's last name was?
As I knew her just a couple of years ago, it was Lawrenson.
Right. For those of you in the Scientology bubble, Chandra used to be the gold rep FLB when I was there back in the late 90s. She was then the head of Mad Hatter Studios when I was in LA in the mid 2000s. So that's Chandra. She is the general manager, which is not a Sea Org post, but Chandra is a public facing person. So she's called the general manager of Scientology Media Productions.
Right. It's a very powerful post there, by the way.
She answers directly to COB.
Right.
With the possibility that maybe Molly Hertling sometimes acts as some sort of a buffer or a go-between or a liaison between Chandra and COB, David Miscavige.
Right.
So that you basically have David Miscavige. Right under David Miscavige, you have Tracy Danelovich and Carrie Eibert.
Right.
Then sort of under Tracy and Carrie, but maybe off to the side, you have Molly Hertling as
Right.
I'm going to call her sort of a floater.
Yeah, I mean, she's really the head of SMP. She's
You're saying Molly is?
oh yeah, Chandra. Oh yeah, she's like yeah, absolutely. Molly is at least when I left there, Molly was like the commanding officer of the place internally, where Chandra was more like a day-to-day operations, run around, harass all the directors, make sure all the work's moving forward, threaten the editors with commevs, all that kind of shit. Like
Okay.
like a glorified product officer. I never saw her as anything like that, more than that.
I was told that Molly, from 2012 to present, is one of these persons who gets put on some incredibly invented high-level senior post, and then the next day she's running the call-in unit, and then the next day she's washing dishes, and then the next day she's back on the senior deputy David Miscavige for do everything.
Right.
So I'm calling Molly, just for the sake of this conversation, a senior. She's a floater, but an extremely powerful floater.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
That works.
So you have Chandra running Scientology Media Productions, or at least is the general manager of Scientology Media Productions, answering directly to COB, but maybe using Molly as a go-between.
Right.
You have the dissemination center in is that in Commerce,
Yeah,
California?
yeah. It's in Commerce.
And you have Owen Verrill, who I knew from my days in the Sea Org. Owen Verrill, who is put in charge of the dissemination center, and he also answers directly to COB, perhaps through Molly. There seems to be a little bit of a crossover between whether you answer to Carrie and Tracy at the ILO or whether you answer directly to David Miscavige.
Right.
Okay. Then you have Bridge Publications. It's sort of its own big deal now. It's quite a big deal. It's much bigger than it ever used to be. And that Blake Silber is the one running Bridge. Is that does that conform to your understanding?
Yeah. I don't know Blake Silber.
You don't know Blake Silber?
No, I don't know Blake Silber. I mean, I know
Silber with a B. Silber, B as in Bravo. Silber.
Yeah. I know. No. I don't. Maybe if I saw him, I would remember. But I just.
Okay. And then you have what they call.
I spent a lot of time there at Bridge, but I did not know that.
Well, who would you have said is running Bridge?
Well, when I never really interacted with Bridge in a way that someone was running it. I mean, I shot there for a documentary. I did a lot of tours of the place. I hung out there, but I was always, my interface for all those operations, including SMP, was always Molly, because she was to me, she was a very top Miscavige lieutenant that had successfully produced these projects like Bridge and the Descent Center.
Right.
And then he also, there was another person too, whose name I wish I could remember, because they fit into this scenario, this sort of management being in LA, running these operations. I can't think of his name. He was the guy who went into LA org and helped Miscavige turn it into a Sea Org. Somebody he brought from Flag.
Not Ty Webb.
Yeah, Ty Webb. Thank you. Yeah, Ty Webb. He was a big player in that level of management that this individual was talking to you about.
Yeah, but Ty's been banished to South Africa because if the feds get their hands on him, someone's going to prison.
Okay, good. I had no idea about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Ty's as dirty as they come. As is Jason. As is Jason Hemphill, who you probably remember.
I do know him. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then there's another unit called comps or compilations, which is sort of an extension. It's another thing. It's sort of an LA replication of what used to exist at INT, either in Gold or CMO INT in the RTRC office.
Right.
And that comps has this massive building that they share with CST in Commerce.
Right. Well, CST is a little part of it, but.
Right. I took like 25 or like a quarter to a third of the building.
Yeah, and then there's also
the mill.
Yeah, but also in that comps building, they also have book design. They have a whole design team there that works on books.
That's right. And that's right. And I had enough explained to me at the difference between comps and the Descent Center and Bridge and all that kind of stuff.
3 facilities.
So the explanation that I got was, look, between Tracy and Carrie at the ILO, Chandra at SMP, Molly as the floater deputy COB for everything, Blake Silber, and whoever runs comps. This person could not remember who runs comps. That's 6 young people who are loyal to no one but David Miscavige.
Right.
And that those 6 people and David Miscavige That is international management. Period.
Yeah.
Like that's the team that's running Scientology.
Right.
And that Miscavige is very close with these people. These people, they do go out to eat. They do go out to the movies. And I was like, yeah, but that's what they used to do with Mike. He used to do that with Mike and Marty and Guillaume and Mark and everything. And he's like, yeah, but that's the point. The old guard doesn't even exist. Nobody knows who they are. Now, Mark Yeager and Jenny Linson will be sent in on special projects to handle flaps. They have no management role of any kind whatsoever. They have been through so much and seen so much and are so trusted and loyal that they will be used to handle the most threatening and disgusting flaps that the Miscavige doesn't want anyone else to know anything about, but that they are not management. They are just attack dogs and fixers.
Yeah, they're part attack dog and part lap dog and part border collie.
Yeah.
They're sort of a combination of all three. But yeah, that's 100%. That's my experience.
Yeah. Oh, and there's, this person explained to me the landlord office and all that kind of stuff and the ideal org stuff and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But that he's like, because I still had the idea that this thing of, management doesn't exist. Again, I'm repeating myself, but I was like, oh, you're only saying that because Miscavige doesn't go there anymore. And this person was like, no. They're not there. It's never coming back. No one knows who they are. They have no power. If someone came down from CST and is like, oh, I'm important, I'm taking over, they'd be like, who are you? Get lost. Yeah, like if there was some internal coup that the lawyers, if Russ Bellin and the lawyers orchestrated some legal thing to remove David Miscavige, he'd be like, no, these 5 or 6 people don't know anyone other than David Miscavige and would never take orders from anybody other than David Miscavige.
Yeah, I mean, I never saw it as this paradigm, as this guy explained it, in terms of them replacing international management. I always just saw it as Miscavige being like a mafia boss, and he has these top lieutenants that are now running the show. But I never saw them as like replacing international management. It's just not the way I looked at it, but he's 100% correct. In place of them, there is this. I mean, it's a very insightful way to look at it. I mean, I don't know about Chandra Lawrenson being that close with Miscavige. I mean, she runs the show and she answers directly to him. His main office, I mean, he has 2 offices in LA, one at Author Services and one at his main office is at Scientology Media Productions. So it's nothing for him to snap his fingers, call people into the conference room and have a meeting. And those would be the top people of the studio. But I don't think Chandra is part of that inner group that goes out to eat and goes to movies and stuff. I think she's not seen in that light.
There's something else he explained to me. This person explained to me. He said, these young, new Sea Org exec hotshots, when you look at what their actual jobs are, it's not delivering Scientology to paying public.
No.
It's setting up these inanimate spaces and centers and production lines and facilities. And this was being explained to me to help me understand these people aren't under that sort of do or die pressure where Miscavige has something to scream at them about every day. He's like, well, let's take a look at it. If you're running Scientology media productions, you're just creating AV content. You're not servicing Scientology public. Right. If you're running the dissemination center, you're printing stuff and you're producing stuff. You're not delivering to Scientology to public. If you're in charge of the ILO, okay, technically you're in charge of delivering Scientology to the public. But Flag, this is the other thing that was explained to me. Flag has actually consistently been making $3 million a week and also delivering $3 million a week by cannibalizing the Scientology public from all of the orgs in the entire world. And the fact, because I said to him, I said, look, there's still this premise in Scientology that you can't shake, you can't get rid of it, that only statistics determine whether you're doing a good job or not. How do these senior Scientology managers justify the fact that international Scientology statistics are down? And he said, believe it or not, they sort of justify it by going, we're doing it right at Flag. We're making it go right at Flag. And the IAS is making so much damn money that it sort of allows them to justify the stats everywhere else being down. If we could only get everywhere else to be more like Flag, everything would be fine. But Flag's only doing well because they're literally stealing all the public from all the orgs in the world.
Right.
And they made the eligibility to get onto the OT levels. They basically the bar for how the bar to get onto the OT levels used to be up here. It's down here. They'll let anybody onto the OT levels now. So they're pulling all the demand forward. You know, in the corporate world, it's like you can organically create demand. You can increase your total addressable market. You can come up with new projects, new products to reach more people. Flag is succeeding because they are cannibalizing public and pulling demand forward. They're just making it. You can only keep these stats up for so long.
Right.
But that's what's happening right now. Flag is sort of the center of the Scientology world. Everyone's being sucked up into Flag, whether it's for the L's or the cause resurgence rundown or superpower or getting onto OT7. And so that's sort of how management is kind of excusing stats being down everywhere else.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yep.
And this person felt that Miscavige's goal at this point is not necessarily to expand Scientology, but to make it impossible to get rid of Scientology. Creating these, putting these massive, giant buildings that are fully paid for,
right.
No mortgages, no liens, no taxes. It's like the buildings might be empty, but you ain't getting rid of us.
Right. Buildings are they're real. They're there.
Yeah.
And they're assets and they appreciate and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. And that these execs, that was going back to my line of thought there, that there's nothing for Miscavige to really be angry at these execs about, because honestly, what they're doing is a relatively easy job. They're taking a massive amount of money and transforming that money into physical buildings and production lines and tangible things. And at the end of the day, that's not hard to do.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's the one part of this that I would take exception to, that there's no yelling and screaming going on, because I know for a fact, if you can easily verify this, there has not been a Freedom magazine put out since 2019. Okay. So I guarantee you there's a lot of yelling and screaming going on about that. I guarantee you there's production slows. I don't even think they can find anybody to put out a Freedom magazine anymore. And Freedom used to be a pretty serious operation run out of OSA, and now it's run out of Scientology Media Productions, and they've brought various configurations of professionals in there, including some very good journalists and blah, blah, blah. They've not been able to get an issue out. And there's also I noticed, because I look at the station occasionally to see what's going on, they were very late releasing their last, like if you plot it out on a calendar, when their quote unquote seasons are that they release on Scientology Media Productions, the last one was really late. I guarantee you there was a lot of yelling and screaming going on. I mean, the way you describe it, these are kind of like almost cushy jobs. They're sort of out of the fray. That is not the case. I mean, I'm sure Chandra Lawrenson hasn't had anything but raw skin on her backside since she took that job. So I don't believe that part. There's still production targets to make. And because he's in such close proximity to them, he'd be the one yelling and screaming at them. Yeah, go ahead.
His point wasn't that David Miscavige doesn't yell. His point was that, generally speaking, in Scientology, the biggest problem Scientology has is that Scientology is shrinking. It's contracting. If you're running an org and you have a gun to your head to get the stats up, that's very difficult when the number of your membership is dwindling and dwindling and dwindling. His point was simply that these other people have jobs, that the shrinking state of Scientology does not prevent these people from getting their jobs done, because their jobs depend on having enough money to get the job done.
Right. And that flow of money keeps them, because it comes mostly from very wealthy donors, keeps those people believing everything is okay. I mean, I've seen that. That's why Scientology Media Productions is so important. That's why the network is so important, because it's literally internal marketing. everybody in the bubble believes, oh, the volunteer ministers or this social betterment, endeavor, or this one is actually making a difference in the world, and therefore I'm going to continue to engage both my time and my money with Scientology, and it keeps that thing going. It's just this very insidious machine. But my point is that they do have production targets, and they are under a lot of pressure, even though they're not so worried about money. I mean, I think I told you prior, when I was helping to work on the opening of S&P, that it was delayed for a number of reasons. And, Miscavige made the deal with DirecTV, station 320. I'll never forget it. He made the deal. It was a lot of money. I believe it was something like $10 million, because he wanted a 5-year deal. He didn't want to be there for a year and be booted off, or any chance of being booted off. So he was paying, I don't know, 50 grand a month, some insane amount of money for a lease on the channel, which was doing nothing. So there was a lot of heat to get the studio launched, to actually start, using that lease. And he lost it one day, and he was just like, pounded the desk, and he was like, what am I going to tell the donors, right? Which to me was a very odd thing to say. I mentioned this to you when we were talking about Putin and the donors and, Russia and that whole thing. It's a very odd thing to say, but it really shows where that flow of money is from. It's not coming from because the station has expanded Scientology. And as a result of the Scientology expansion, more people are coming in and legitimately paying money for books and courses and so forth. And then that money is coming back into, flowing back to S&P, the way, like when I was first at Gold in the early 90s, and the church was doing much better back then. And the students would, every time a student signed up for a course, some of their money paid for training, which, is a statistic, a portion of that would go to film rentals. It would come back to Gold. It's like a legitimate business thing, right? But then eventually they had to change that because the money paid for training was down. They had to figure out another way to get the orgs to pay for the films. But yeah, so you're absolutely 100% right. The money comes in from rich donors. And then they create this television station that keeps everybody believing things are wonderful. And, the rest is as you described. But there still are pretty steep production targets for which people are live in fear of Miscavige.
Right. There's another reason why it's sort of generally accepted and acceptable that international stats have just been so horrible for the last 10, 15, 20 years.
Right.
By the way, it's as of 2007. I was told from 2002 to 2007, stats, particularly in the Los Angeles area, were pretty much level to slightly down. Right. And that from 2007 to 2011, stats in LA and internationally have taken a straight nosedive down from which they've never recovered.
Right.
And this person said that, first of all, well, I don't want it's getting too much into the weeds for when I said, well, what's that attributed to? But the reason why it's sort of been okay that it's never recovered is because Miscavige has said that all of the OAC policy volumes are non-standard. And he said, look, even Golden Age of Tech 2 that came out in 2014 is not complete. There's no grad 5 auditor course. There's no class 6 St. Hill special briefing course.
Right.
He said and he said, all the command teams around the world have been in training for years now and are still in training. So not only are most of the staff in the orgs missing, but the new policy volumes haven't been released yet. And so no one's really I might be exaggerating, but no one's really expecting stats to be going up right now. That's supposed to be coming around the corner in the next big new era of management release. And all that
I don't know. I can't speak to that. I mean, the fact that basically what he's saying is things are the way they are because we're not doing what Hubbard said. And I'm working on that. That to me is legitimate. But, there's part of this equation that we're not even talking about, and that you cannot overstate, which is the effect of the internet. Because right around those same years that you mentioned, Anonymous happened in 2008. South Park was in 2005. So if you kind of put a graph, if you're going to make a graph with all of the correlating forces leading to this downfall, you need to put those up there. You need to put on the South Park had a bigger effect than people really, I think, give it credit for, because it was so funny, and we all give it credit for the humorous aspect. Between that and the internet, I mean, I was there when the internet thing hit, when Anonymous hit. I was helping to push back against it, and I saw Miscavige's reaction. I mean, he was just like, like he like just lost it over, like his attitude of the internet was the closest I can come to a quote was that anybody can say whatever they want with impunity on the internet, and that's why he hated it. That's also called for your First Amendment right, so to do that. Well, not with total impunity, but I don't think we can understate the degree to which the internet, the phenomena of the internet, drove those statistics down.
Sure, absolutely. There's also another interesting thing he mentioned. And the reason I thought this was so incredible is because I was having this phone conversation with him after Mike Brown's interview with Mike and Claire last night.
Right.
And one of the things that Mike Brown mentioned in that interview is that the authorities in the government who are looking into all this identity theft and credit card fraud that Scientology fundraisers were perpetrating, they said, look, one of the things we're having trouble processing here is that normally when someone commits credit card fraud or identity theft, they're doing it for their own personal gain.
Right.
And in this case, these fundraisers are committing these crimes and basically stealing all this money, and they're not keeping a penny. They're turning it over to the Church of Scientology.
Right.
So you almost go, who committed the crime? Now, it was after that interview, I was like, damn, that's an interesting point.
Yeah, I heard Mike Brown say that. I was just kind of mind blown.
And so I had this conversation with this guy yesterday, and I go, did you listen to Mike Brown's interview this evening? And he goes, no, I haven't. And I said, what you just said is the exact same thing he said the government investigators said. And this came from that one of the reasons the registrars who committed these crimes were simply taken off post and sent to other posts, and they weren't ComEv, they weren't declared, they weren't expelled, is because even Miscavige had to admit that these fundraisers did these things because there was so much pressure put on them. They felt they had to in order to meet the demands that were being put on them. And he said, it's not like they were stealing the money. They were doing it for us. So how can we really completely condemn them? Now, this is some introspection I would never think Miscavige to be truly capable of.
No, no, absolutely not.
But I believe what I'm being told here, though.
Yeah. Are you expecting me to comment on that? I mean, I just, my only comment is that these people, I mean, are you saying they should not be held accountable? I'm not.
No, I'm saying it's why they weren't declared and expelled. Even Miscavige had to admit
Well, yeah, sure. But I think there's also
even Miscavige had to admit we sort of created a situation where they felt like they had no choice but to do that.
Well, yeah. And also think about it. If you come down on these people too hard, they're going to want to leave and speak out.
Exactly.
So you want to handle them very gingerly. You want to say, whatever. We're just going to try. You don't want to have a conversation about it ever. You just want to transfer them to another post and get on with it, because they'll leave. The thing that gets people to leave, it's not what you're doing or what I'm doing. That helps. That helps. I believe that prevents new people from coming in. But the main thing that gets people to leave is that they finally can't take the abuse anymore, and they leave and they speak out. And so you certainly don't want to be abusing those people, because those people actually partook in a crime.
Well, I think you mean that's what makes people leave the Sea Org.
Yeah. Okay, we can make that distinction. But I also think public Scientologists also suffer a kind of abuse in terms of the pressure to give funds that they really are not in their best interest, and to engage in so much time where they should be spending other things, that it becomes destructive to their lives. So I think
because I would argue that the content that former members, like everyone doing SPTV, channels and whatnot, is very much part of what helps a lot of people decide to leave.
Yeah, I wouldn't deny that whatsoever. But my main point is that they don't really put themselves in the direct line of being able to see that stuff until they've reached a certain amount of abuse. Like, just anybody, take Ron Miscavige. I mean, born senior, by the time he was figuring out how to use his Kindle as a keyhole to look into the real world, he'd suffered quite a lot of abuse. I'm saying that they reach a tipping point, and then the SP Nation just pushes them over the edge, and they say, "Yeah, you don't have." You get what I'm saying? I think
totally.
Yeah, I think that's it's they create their own problems. One of their problems is that people, at a certain point, they want to find a reason to leave. It's tough to disengage. They want to start learning the truth. When Mike was talking about his mom, sitting in the elder care home, and she's got a Kindle, and she's like very carefully creeping up to it, right? And then she starts to look, right? But it was that abuse that got her to creep up to it. And then once she looks, it's done. She's done. So anyway, that's just my opinion about the thing. It's a subtlety, but I think that that what you're doing, what you've started, has prevented more people from getting into Scientology than I'd ever been at Scientology. So that you can't discount the value of that to just social well-being. So
Sure.
that's my birthday present to you.
So I think as you were talking there, it kind of dawned on me that even this story I'm being told of what Miscavige eventually had to admit to, that sounds to me like that would have been more of a face saver. He knew that he had to go easy on these guys or they could run to the feds. And so his face saver was, we made them do it. They're not to blame.
Yeah, you could put, that's a good way to put it. That's 100% valid. I'm sure so. I mean, some of them may have even gotten bonuses and better jobs just to keep them quiet. I mean, it's what the Don does, right, Aaron? I mean, the mafia boss, he does things like that. He's like, you go and you commit some crime for the boss. The boss, he takes care of you. I would take care of my people.
Yeah.
Right.
One of the questions that I asked in this conversation is, like this giant plummeting of statistics that occurred, internet or no internet, in 2007, when the basics evolution created a complete straight down vertical drop internationally of Scientology stats from which it has never recovered.
Right.
And I asked, in your opinion, how do Scientologists and staff members and Sea Org members and managers not go? And David Miscavige did that. And the answer I got was, there's so many people who've left since then that everything is blamed on those people, like Blake Mooney. Most of the debacle from the basics release and the basics evolution has been blamed on Blake Mooney.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the actual policy, because I heard you quoted about when the SPs are,
signs of success.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's a lot of it. And a lot of it is that there's such a love and adoration and faith in David Miscavige that it couldn't possibly be him.
Right.
I mean, I tried to explain to a friend of mine, somebody I care about deeply, somebody I got into Scientology 30 years ago. I really want to help this person because they're about to embark on their OT levels. I don't want to see them do that because the OT levels are really dangerous to people's mental health. And without telling her I'd even left, I was saying, I don't think I'm going to work for Gold anymore. I saw a lot of abuses up there. I saw this, I saw that myself, even me personally, this happened and this happened. And the person's immediate reaction was, well, does COB know about this? And I'm thinking in my mind, well, wait a minute. Am I ready to tell her that he was one of the main perpetrators? And even if he wasn't perpetrating it, the people doing it were following his example. She wasn't ready to hear that yet, because you have to be careful how you help people out of. But that was her immediate reaction was, and even later when I tried to say, look, there's something's rotten in Denmark, she was trying to convince me that there are mechanisms in place in Scientology to get these things fixed. So there's this kind of mental rot amongst Scientologists that it's going to be it's tough. So that's anyway, that's my opinion.
And I said, I asked this person, is it evident and obvious to the people who are in the orgs that things are not going well and stats are down? And he said, it could not be more obvious. ASHO and, buildings in LA are virtually empty. Right. And these are the Sea Org centers. These are the nerve centers of all Scientology in Los Angeles. Right. Because they're empty. Mitch, he told me one thing else that blew my mind. He said, there is a post in every ideal org in the world. There is a binder put together every single week. Someone goes through the org and takes a photo of every room and every space in every org.
Oh my God. I used to see those binders. They would come into goal. No, I used to see those binders, like all of the social betterment activities. And we did this week. and this has had so many graduations. And no, you're right. We would see these binders because those binders were supposed to keep like teams, like it was at Gold, now it's at SMP, keep the teams fired up writing these documentaries about how wonderful everything's going in Scientology. Yeah, yeah, that's true.
But these aren't stat binders. These are just
No.
photo binders.
Yeah, these are just for show. They're just nothing to do with stats.
No, so just photos of
Right.
a photo of every room in every org in the world every week.
Right. Yeah, I'm aware of that.
Everyone knows these buildings are empty.
Wow.
And this person's opinion was that Miscavige isn't trying to, by the end of his life, he's not thinking by the end of my life, we're going to have the planet cleared. He's like, by the end of my life, it will be impossible to get rid of Scientology.
Mm-hmm.
And that was their opinion.
Wow.
That he's like, we've just got to make ourselves established and solid and real and there. And that's why he doesn't want some dinky org. He wants a cathedral. He wants a 50,000 square foot marble palace, whether it's empty or not. Because he goes, they've already rehashed all the successful actions from the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, and they've tried to do them again, and nothing has worked. Nothing has allowed Scientology to reverse its dwindling spiral and to get the stats going back up. He says nothing. And so this person's understanding was that he just doesn't believe that Miscavige is focused on that part of expansion. He goes, he thinks Miscavige is defining expansion in other ways than membership and hours audited and auditors trained. He's just shift his focus to make us impossible to get rid of.
No, I 100% agree. I mean, that is absolutely a valid way of looking at it. To me, the whole thing's a mystery. That is definitely such a plausible scenario. I wish this person would come out. I'd love to talk to them. I mean, if they're watching, send me an email. I would just love to. No, I'm telling you, because obviously their information is very, very current, and this is a very unique perspective. I mean, I was involved in all this stuff, and I really didn't look at it. I just looked at it like this new group of people. You say they're young. I don't think any of them are under 40. So, I mean, it may be
40's young, Mitch. I'm 43. You crossed the line now, and you know you did. Put your manners back in.
Okay. Fair enough, Aaron. Fair enough. But you're killing me, dude. The reason that I say that is because when Miscavige has an obsession with youth, as did L. Ron Hubbard. Look at the messengers. And look at who works for Miscavige. He's always surrounded by good-looking young people, especially females. And it's not a sex thing. It's a decorative thing, because, Scientology is maybe the most sex-negative organization, at least that I've ever encountered. And, the messengers, when Janice was a messenger, remember they were all teens and tweens, and they were all wearing like, hot pants and go-go boots. But it wasn't about sex. It was just about some kind of decorative thing. So when you say young people, it triggers a different picture in my mind, because I've seen all these young people working about Miscavige. And some years before he built, he finally purchased the KCT studio and established Scientology Media Productions. He was looking for a studio. In a meeting one day, he said to me, "Hey, Mitch, I don't mean to push your buttons, but how'd you like to work with a bunch of young people?" And I was like, okay. So and then most of the people he brought from Flag, the HCO establishment team, they were all in their 20s. They were horrible. They were like the Nazi Lebenssporn. Like, they were just bred to be like the worst people in the world. And they literally destroyed that place. I mean, the reason why they haven't had a Freedom magazine since 2019 is because HCO at SMP wanted to sec check non-Scientology journalists on a weekly basis. And I believe that's against the law. So I know I got off on this on the youth thing, but there is this real obsession with people more in their, 18 to 30. Those are the people that Miscavige really likes. So these guys, I mean, they're 20 years younger than him, but I mean, they're young like you, but they're not young. You know,
it's true. I mean, I know everyone that I've named. They're like my age or a few years older.
Yeah.
It's not every day that we get to see one of these people that we're talking about, see their face and hear their voice.
Right.
And I thought maybe we could play a few minutes of Molly Hertling's video about what an amazing man David Miscavige is.
Yeah, and hold on. Yeah, before you started, I mean, Molly, remember in our conversation yesterday,
Yeah.
she was the one I was referring to that he was just brutalizing and eviscerating. And Molly is one of the nicer, more empathetic, smarter people that I met in that whole crowd.
Wow, that's not the Molly I know.
Well, no, but I was in a silo. Okay, I was bubbled, so people went out of their way to be nice to me because Miscavige always introduced me as, "Oh, this is Mitch Brisker. He's the guy that does our films." So I always got treated that way. But
I'll tell you, I mean, just by way of intro, I mean, the Molly Hertling I know and the Molly Hertling I see in this video is someone who I believe her emotion has been removed, her empathy has been removed, her compassion has been removed, her sense of self has been removed. She is nothing but a drone. She is nothing but a parrot. I'm sure underneath all that is a real person. But anyway,
sounds to me like you're describing a Scientologist.
Yeah, and a high level Sea Org manager.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what you're. Let's just take a little bit of this. Hold on.
We were in a position like the church did not have in-house print facilities. So, chairman of the board, Mr. Miscavige, was working on the project that LRH directed of bring the materials back to their original source, bring them back as LRH spoke them, as LRH wrote them. These are the books and these are the lectures. And he was on that project. He was completing that project. And near the completion of that project, he turned to a group of us and said, we've got to set up the publishing line so that we can bring these materials to everyone. It's not enough just to have them. We have to be able to produce them. So what you see at Bridge today, what we have at Bridge today is the realization of LRH's dream at being able to make, his technologies of Dianetics and Scientology available to everyone, coupled with Mr. Miscavige's vision of how to do that today, how to do that in our world today. Everything we have here in terms of the setup is totally state of the art. The passion that we have, the excitement that we have for what we do is something that, is instilled and inspired by Mr. Miscavige. The things that, when we set up a new facility like this one, what we set up for all of it always includes the setup for the staff. How do we make sure the staff have what they need? How do we make sure they have what they need to do their job, that they're doing it comfortably and as well as they can do it? And, they're exciting. We're expanding. There's a lot of work to do. People are up for that. And, that excitement is what inspires everybody to do the job that they're doing here.
No, wow. Mr. Miscavige, please don't hurt me. Hold on, there's only a couple minutes left.
No, exactly. I'm just like, I feel bad for her.
There's only a couple minutes left. There's some good stuff.
Yeah.
I've been privileged to work directly with him for almost 10 years on the various dissemination projects that the church has been involved in. Working with him is fast. It's exciting. It's challenging and exhilarating. Like the things that we do are things that we never thought we would do, that I never thought I would be involved in. So he's an amazing mentor. He's an amazing leader. He's an amazing friend. I couldn't ask for a better friend personally. I couldn't ask for a better teacher. I couldn't ask for a better boss. I couldn't ask for anything better. He has seen so much more in me than I have ever given credit to myself of what I thought I would accomplish. Like words can't express how much I appreciate that. Like
he told me I was even more of a dumb bitch than I already thought I was. Like, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
All right, hold on.
That's the highest compliment you could possibly be paid.
Yeah, I mean, next to being called fat and stupid.
Yeah,
I guess
you
that's
fat hick.
Yeah, exactly. Cracker, I think it was.
By the way, those aren't our words, guys. That's what Miscavige says about Molly in meetings.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
So, like working with him, his sense of humor is incomparable. He's exceptionally and maybe abnormally normal. He likes a great taco truck.
He loves a good taco truck. Okay, you got to tell the taco truck story real quick.
Yeah.
You
So
gotta tell.
if anybody's interested, the taco truck that she's referring to, it's called El Chato. It is. They appear on La Brea down around Olympic evenings in a car wash parking lot. It is rated by LA Weekly, which is a highly regarded foodie source. El Chato is regarded as the #1 taco truck in LA. Miscavige claims to have found that, like, he just shoved this taco truck thing at everybody, like we all know about it. That's what's cracking me up, is that Molly's talking about the taco truck.
So what's the deal? Does he get tacos from that taco truck every
Yeah,
Friday?
well,
or
he
what?
claims, no, he pretty much, if he's in LA, but he claims that he was on his way home. He was on his way back to Author Services after arriving in LA on an international flight late at night. I think they're probably open till 2, 3 in the morning. And he just randomly stopped at this place. And then I was working with him at Author Services, and he's like, it was a Friday night, and he's like, he says to me and the guy I'm working with, hey, you guys should go down to El Chato. And then Lou is standing behind him looking at us like, that's a fucking order, guys. Like, there's always this vibe. You can't say, yeah, okay, cool, I'll check it out. You're like, oh yes, sir, we're on our way to the taco truck. So
the next time Miscavige goes to El Chato, they're gonna be like, "Senor, here's your taco, and you've been served."
Yeah, I actually, that's a note to the attorneys looking for him. Check out just plant somebody at El Chato on a Friday night. You very well may catch him there. I went down there. We went down there. We ordered a bunch of stuff. We're eating it on the trunk of my car. And I'm like, I'm not even going to wait to be asked. I'm like taking pictures and sending them back like, oh, this is, it turned out to be, it's an amazing taco truck.
Sir, you were right. You're so brilliant. These are the best tacos ever. Please don't hit us.
Yeah. One of the things that I can verify that David Miscavige has done 100% correctly is that he randomly found the best taco truck in LA.
Wow. All right, there's 90 seconds left on this bad boy.
We'll sit down and have a grilled cheese sandwich together. Like, it's as normal as you can conceive of with an exceptionally amazing individual.
Oh my God.
Mr. Miscavige sees you, and he knows who you are personally, and he knows what you can do. And that's how he operates with anyone he works with. That's how he operates with me. He has always seen more in me than I have seen in myself. And he has always insisted of me that I am as great.
Yeah, because you think you're 150 pounds, but he's telling everyone you weigh 220. He definitely sees more in you than you see in yourself.
And
yeah, plus, well, he's having a grilled cheese sandwich with her for lunch. You know, then that night he's that sushi place, the one that Robert De Niro owns, having like $2,000 dinners. Meanwhile, the top execs are getting grilled cheese sandwiches. That's just like, and I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
Can be. And that has run the gamut from apprenticeship and training and mentoring on, particular projects, but it's run the gamut to personally seeing to my health when it needed to be personally seen to. It has seen to asking about my family and how my mother is doing. It has seen to sending, pies when my hometown football team wins the championship. It has seen to so many different things he's my, my superior, he's our chairman, he's our leader, but he's also the greatest friend that you could ever hope to have. He has your back, and he has your back. And everything that you're going to try and accomplish and succeed at, if you're doing it with him, you're going to succeed.
Wow.
Yeah, he has your back in the way that you have to take someone's back before you choke them out. Come on, Molly, submit. Tap, tap.
Yeah, and Eric, she's not lying. He's done every one of the things she says. She's just not talking about the things that he does. I mean, this is what narcissists and psychopaths do. It's a push-pull. I mean, they'll punch you in the face, and then the next day they'll send pies to your local football team. At your high school. It's crazy. It's really nuts. No, it's funny she said the grilled cheese sandwich thing, because I remember when we finished the Narconaut program, me and this writer, he's like, hey, why don't you guys go down to Nobu and have dinner on us, right? So, we go down there and we eat all the sushi we want, and then somebody shows up from Other Services with a credit card. I see them out of the corner of my eye, they pay the bill. it was like $1,500. I mean, I engineered that out of somebody. So, and Maggie's and Molly, she's bragging about having grilled cheese sandwiches with him, man.
But he's abnormally normal, Mitch. He's abnormally normal.
Yeah, she's missing out. She should have been going for the Nobu.
All right, let's jump through a couple of these super chats and we'll call this one a wrap.
Great.
Andrew Humphrey, happy birthday, big man. Have fun with the family. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. Stripe Taxi, thank you. Ruthie, happy birthday. Do you know what time you were born? I do, but I forget. Well, so I guess I don't know. I used to know, and I have my birth certificate somewhere. Roxy Almeida, how many years young? I'm 43 years young today. Thank you very, very much. Let's see. Striped Taxi. As a nurse, I was trained to be very suspicious if a visitor would not let the patient be interviewed, examined alone, and to consult social worker if this occurs. Seemed like this was missed during Rosemary's hospitalization. Disappointing. Oh, that's actually a really, really good point. That's actually a really good point, because when Sea Org members go to the hospital, well, usually they're not allowed to be left alone unless it's one of the situations where you're just dropping someone off at the ER and ditching them and abandoning them and telling them to being a Scientologist. Right.
Yeah, but because I would see that all the time for regular appointments, the MLO would always go and they'd be in there with the doctor, with you and the doctor during your examination.
Oh, that's creepy as hell.
Oh, really creepy. They tried to do that with me, and I told them no HIPAA rules prevent. Plus, I was paying for my own medical insurance, so.
And they still tried to accompany you in the exam?
Yeah, they did. They would try to come. I never let it happen, but they really want to control you. I know people that this happened to. Like there would be a female MLO in there, and the guy's getting his prostate checked. They just have no shame about any of this stuff. They really feel they have a right and a responsibility, and that they're doing the right thing, because they have to make sure. What? Sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry.
You got to pay extra for the extra company, but
yeah, normally you do to have somebody watching. Well, actually, you can get somebody to watch usually for free. There's a lot of pervy people out there.
It depends.
Really
LA maybe.
Yeah, yeah. I forgot you're in Florida, right? Right.
All right. Speckwall says Alles Gute zum Geburtstag. Oh, Alles Gute zum Geburtstag. Happy birthday, Aaron. I butchered that a little bit, but okay. Enjoy some fudge from Uranus. Thank you very much. I still have a little left over. I will. Okay. Ken's channel says she's not wrong. It is challenging and exhilarating to duck punches. Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay. Freezy New Project of Farsec. I think she may need to say more about nothing at all in particular. Yeah, these videos are great. Oh, what are all the trophies about? You would know, Mitch. What are those trophies in the background?
Oh, those are trophies of printing industry trophies. Those are from printing industry associations. Because that place is legitimately. They bought so much equipment, like from Xerox and Epson. I think it's this print on demand stuff, that those companies then bring potential clients on a tour there because they have, they've set up the. So they legitimately win these print industry awards, but I'm sure they wine it. It's politics. They wine and dine the people and blah blah blah. But that's what the trophies are. I forget the names of the associations, but that's what they are.
Okay. Freezy New Project of Farsec. If you watch this on replay, drink every time she says accomplish. The Raffadaffadoo from Urban Dictionary. Chato is a slang noun meaning short, small, or stubby in some cases.
Well, that's the short, small, stubby person. So I guess we could call Miscavige El Chato.
El Chato.
El Chato. That could be another nickname.
Ken's channel. OMG, this video is the greatest example of narcissism just outside the camera frame, yelling like Sam Kinison. Don't forget the MR. What is this? What am I? I'm not getting it.
MR?
Don't forget. Oh, Mr. Miscavige.
Oh, right.
Gary Jackson Moorhead. You boys are doing strong work. Happy birthday to you both.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, Gary.
When's
My
your
birthday was 2 days on the 26th.
Oh, happy birthday, man.
Hey, thank you. At my age, you don't really get into it. So
it says freezing your project. Happy birthday, Aaron, and happy late birthday, Mitch. Allison Byrne. Have you noticed a difference in how they're recruiting now? Happy birthday, Aaron, and nice to see you, Mitch. I'm never quite sure whether people. Sometimes people refer to recruiting as trying to get new people to join Scientology, but we refer to recruiting as trying to get people to join staff or the Sea Org.
Right.
And all the recruitment methods are just a variation on the same theme, right? Trying to find your ruin. What are you struggling with most in life? What do you feel is your biggest challenge in life? And convincing you that Scientology can help you improve that area of your life. You know, these days they're doing more online, trying to trick people into coming in for like online self-improvement seminars. Scientology is promoting a lot of things on Meetup. There's this Meetup app, or meetup.com. A lot of these self-improvement seminars that are not promoted as being Dianetics or Scientology, and people show up and it's a Scientology seminar. I get tons of emails about things like that.
Wow, I had no idea.
Yeah.
I'm definitely out of the loop on that.
I gotta be honest, I feel so bad for the staff members in the orgs these days, because you know it's gotta be next to impossible to bring new people to bring new people in.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway.
I'm sorry, but that's the internet.
Yeah, no.
That's you. That's you, Aaron.
That's not me. That's not
no,
me.
you know, I'm saying representative.
Internet in general. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, this has been a lot of fun. That's probably it for me. Probably gonna do some birthday stuff this evening. And it is Friday after all.
Well deserved.
And I feel a little bad dominating the airway, taking over the airwaves. I know there's a lot of other live streams scheduled, so I'm just gonna call it a wrap. Thanks for hanging out with us, you guys. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, always.
Thank you as always to everyone who watches until the very end, and we'll talk to you soon.
See ya.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not,